Yo, the crowd's feeling it, energy's alive. Spotlight on the tails where the future arrives. Bass in the air, every story's a spark. Late night on bass, we're a light in the dark. Bass night stories on the stage, we vibe. Talk show magic where the chain comes alive. Tokens in the flow, let the legends provide. Late night on bass, we're taking it worldwide.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Late Night on Base. I am your host, your friend, your confidant, Bill the Bull. Back at it. Real quick, someone's mic is on. I don't know whose it is. It's a beautiful thing about podcasting. You never know what you're going to get, but that's all good. So, hey, everyone, I'm Bill. Looking forward to this episode. Today, we have Christ is King on the podcast. We're joined by Austin, Eric, and Saint Smith, going back Curtis. So we're going to have this is one of the projects on base that's newer, but is literally taking base by storm, with market cap close to about 20 million, with a really good narrative. And I'm going to let them explain everything, but I'm looking forward to spreading the word of what they're doing. But without further ado, I have one very important question for all three of you. The most important question you will ever be asked in your life. And that is, my friends, how are we doing today?
Doing good, Bill. Thanks for having us.
Go Orlando, baby.
Yeah, Orlando, shout out. Florida.
What about you, Curtis?
Bill, I'm just blessed to be here. It's a great day. It's an honor to talk to you. I'm really interested to find out in your intro what this Joe Rogan thing is. Your mixture. I want to know because Joe Rogan goes into stuff. So I'm willing to go into it with you today. You know what I mean?
Oh, we go deep, bro. The one thing about this podcast that separates me from other base projects, yeah, we talk about the projects. That's great. We get to know all about it. But the more important thing to me and to my followers and what I want to stress is the people behind the project. I want to get to know your guys' why, because to be honest with you, that's the most important thing. You can have the best projects in the world, but if the founders don't share that vision or, they don't have that motivation, it's like, why be in it? So get ready on the hot seat. But Austin, how about you, man? How you doing?
I've been great. I had my daughter's pre-K like graduation like sing thing that they did today, which was amazing. So had a lovely little time with the family.
Amazing, man. Yeah, it's blessed to be a parent. I have two boys myself, 2.5-year-old twins actually. So I'm looking forward to all the blessed, man. Blessed. Can't complain.
Amazing. I have a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and one on the way. And actually, Eric has me beat.
Yeah, 5 daughters, a son, and then another daughter. So we'll have 6 daughters and a son. Another daughter coming next month. So
God bless your wives. I don't know how you guys do it. I struggle with 2 kids. I don't know how you guys do more than that, but that's amazing. All right, so guys, I'm excited for this episode. I talked to all sorts of projects, memes, DeFi, utility, RWA, whatever. But when it comes to religious meta, I think there's an untapped potential. And I seriously mean that. I think that's a potential that, we all talk about community is the most important thing, in a meme coin especially. But what better potential meme coin is there that targets the Christian faith audience? That is at its core massive. And Base hasn't had something like this. You guys are bringing it in. But if you guys don't mind, one of you guys, someone's listening to on Spotify, YouTube, Pods Media, coming across Christ is King. If one of you guys can, tell us, what is Christ is King?
Who wants to go for it? Eric, I want to see what you have to say, and then I'd like to follow up with you.
yeah, I liked actually Brandon kind of shared it, and talking about it in one sentence, like it's a digital, decentralized destination for Christ followers. It's decentralized and it's just a digital destination. And, we live in a post-COVID world where everyone's online, in 2020, there was this Clubhouse voice app that a lot of us Christians came together that were entrepreneurs, that were builders. And that's what really put me on in 2020 during COVID. It was like, if they're going to ever think about shutting us in our house, how do we stay connected? How do we stay plugged in? How do we keep our minds working with other people that are building, that are collaborating and building the future? And I went all in online in 2019, 2020. And, and then once I really went in on decentralization, it's like, how do we connect these people, bring resources, bring the future? Because right now, sometimes in 2021, some said, we were too early. right now with AI and agents, it's still early, but it's always going to be early. Where it was early when we created the Henry Ford created the vehicle.
Anything you'd like to add, Curtis?
Yeah, I mean, for me, especially like in this religious meta, I'm somebody probably like a lot of people on here, whether you're a degen or whatever you consider yourself, just a basehead. Um, I know there's a lot of people out there that maybe Christ isn't their king, right? And just to give context, 6 years ago, I didn't know God. I never read the Bible. I didn't know Jesus. I wasn't religious at all, and I'm still very anti-religious from that standpoint. But I had a wild encounter. I won't go into it all, maybe on a different podcast. But I was taken out to a field to be shot at the end of 2019. By day, I was working at a company called Cello. They were building a universal dollar. I'm sure you've heard of Cello. I was like one of the first employees at Cello. So I was working with Google Brain people and Stanford and wild favor inside of that. But at night, I just wasn't following any. I had no grounding. I had no wife. I had no children. It was just me, and I was involved in drugs and chaos, like a lot of chaos. And everybody has their story and their journey, but I'm just sharing this so people understand. Like, we all have our path to God. And mine, I'm very hard headed. I'm thick headed. So mine required me being taken out to a field with a gun put to my head. And in that moment when God showed up, I can't explain it. It was supernatural. I know people have encountered things, even if it's not Christ. You've encountered things or experiences that you can't rationalize. And I had that experience. And long story short, the next day I was dropped off at this pretty famous church called Bethel. Again, I'd never read the Bible before, never been to church. And after that moment, God just grabbed me, and I started to hear his quiet voice. And I told him I'd serve him for the rest of my life. I mean, he saved me. And so I had a different lens. My lens of Christianity was different. So I wanted to be a part of something with decentralization, taking my experience with Trust Token and Cello and all these blockchain companies that I was involved with in the Bay Area, and marry this new experience that I am having now with Jesus, with Christianity. But how do you do that? How do you break down the walls? How do you break down religion? Well, you have to decentralize it. You have to give it back to the people. It was always for the people. Jesus didn't come to bring religion. He came to bring the church, which is the body of people. It's not a building. So how do we do that? How do we get denominations out of here? Well, you have to use technology, in my opinion. And so we set out 4 years ago to do that. So there's a lot of things we're working on behind the scenes besides Christ is King that we're going to be releasing to people, other projects and things like that. But yeah, that's what it means to me. I want a place where people can come to feel loved, to feel integrity, to feel honored, and just like build. And you don't have to say, Christ doesn't have to be your king right now, right? But he's just happens to be our king. And that means that we have open hearts and we're loving and we accept you. That's what it means. So,
Wow. That's a very powerful story. Number one, I'm glad nothing bad happened that night. I'm glad you're here, sitting here. That's definitely an experience. Definitely, I know you won't ever forget. And it's good to know that, like, one of the cool things, and that was kind of going to segue. It's nice to know that there are yes, Christian faith people will obviously feel welcome in this community, but it seems like as well you have open hearts to non-Christians as well who just want to come in as a family. And I think that's really, really good. And Eric, as you were saying, 2020, I remember the Clubhouse era, and that was a wild time, the COVID time. And do you guys know, like, Mustap Murad? Like, are you guys familiar with him? Very
Yeah,
famous. Yeah,
that was
very.
actually an inspiration of Curtis and mine. While we got into memes, and he actually quoted, that someone is going to do religious meta, like that's going to be the biggest one day, and someone's going to do it with excellence and well.
Yeah,
And Curtis really ran with it.
and I think that is tying into kind of what you were saying, because especially in COVID time, people felt isolated. People felt alone. People did not have a connection, right? And so Mustap Murad, who is a big influencer in crypto, he had a token 2049 talk or something last year, and he said one of the things with meme coins is its ability to create inner friendship, create a sense of belonging, a sense of community where you don't feel alone, right? So I absolutely agree with that. So now if you go one step further, why are churches so popular? Faith, you're in a room with people that share similar values. You're going to be loved. You're going to be welcomed. Now, what if you do that decentralized, where it's not just your local church that you have access to? Now you have the whole world, right? Who all agree. And I think that's why I think if you guys continue down the path of what you're doing, and we'll get into the chart and we'll get into all that stuff, I have a feeling you guys are going to do really, really well. You have the experience. And I'm not just saying that because you're on my show. Like, I just see there's a need for this. And as time progresses, in a bear market, in a bull market, it doesn't matter. You want to be around people who share the same value set. And that's really hard to do in crypto. So I just want to say, number one, shout out to all three of you for pushing this narrative. I think it's really important.
Yeah, just to touch on the Murad thing, I think it was back in October. I don't know if you get this sometimes, Bill. Like, you'll wake up from a dream, or you'll get like an inspiration or a vision. In my world, I say it's God talking to me, because he talks to me. But sometimes people call it like a gut intuition, or you have a vision. Well, I woke up and I heard the phrase "Christ is King," and I felt like God said, "I want you to start the decentralized church." And that's a crazy thing. Like, that's crazy, right? Like, you're like, how do we do that? And then that same week, I was my buddy Cole, who's one of the founders of the project. He was like, "You got to check this Murad video." So I'm watching it, and I'm getting all this revelation, and I'm like, "This is it. We're gonna do it with a meme coin," which is funny because in Scripture it talks about God will use like the foolish things to confound the wise, right? Like, he likes to be glorified in the fact that, like, it's silly things that he gets to be glorified through, because who would ever think the decentralized church could start from a meme coin? The religious definitely will say that you can't do that. But I think it's actually happening. And I think with the right strategy, the right team, and the right vision, and I think our team does have that, I think it is possible for us to be the forerunners in this religious meta. And I think it'll start to spark other groups, because, I mean, the Muslims should have their own thing, and everybody that has, that camaraderie, because that's what it is. It's camaraderie and like-mindedness. But for now, we're open to everybody. But Murad was a huge inspiration for at least that talk.
So basically, you're saying you had that vision to start Christ is King when you heard God speak to you and said that. That's incredible.
Yep.
And you just took it. You took it. So, Austin, let me ask you, at what point? So, walk me through this whole thing. So, Curtis thought of the idea. How did you get involved?
Yeah, so I was already kind of like involved with like there like this like I was already like with Curtis and Cole and our co-founders at that point. But let me tell you, when they brought up the meme coin to me, like, I honestly like fussed for like a few months.
Yeah.
Like like genuinely like what I design like Web3 ecosystems for like heavy infrastructure companies. So I design tokens. I live in the token world, but I don't like typically launch memes. So like I've advised on a few meme coins that are having tokenomics, like things that I won't say names, but like ones that are definitely people know names of. But it's like it took me a bit to, like, I would say, reorganize the way that I thought about meme coins and the way that I saw the actual power and potential that they have to bring in community, to bring I wanted to do it in a way that made a lot of sense and that I personally had peace with, from someone who I design tokens for a living. So but yeah, I genuinely love the idea of a meme coin, and because let me just go back one second. So one of the things that we were really trying to address, we had like, I guess, some sort of like a meeting about it, of like, do we believe that Christians should adopt Web3, right? Like, what does that look like? And we basically had like a resounding yes. Like, we think that Christians should be onboarded into Web3, and the meme coin just happens to be the easiest, in my opinion, onboarding process. So now we're working with like again, there's a lot of things that we can't really talk about, but from an adoption standpoint and for onboarding Christian communities, and with the fun and the lightheartedness of meme, even though it's wrapping something that's serious, is, for me, was a beautiful first step into the plans that we're looking to build out.
That's wonderful to hear. So, Eric, now we were talking a little off camera about, the NFT thing. Talk to me, here you are, Curtis, amazing idea. You got Austin coming in. At what point did you decide, hey, you know what, this is something, and I want to be a part of it?
Yeah, I think I was talking to one of an investor who's building a tokenized real estate deal, and I was telling him about memes because I was trying to bring on some whales to a meme called Beans. And Beans, it's a crazy backstory, but Charles Cohen was a tech company guy. He raised 100 million from Michael Saylor, Larry Ellison. Anyways, that was the first meme I got a part of that blew up to 40 million. Anyways, it was just a crazy thing, but we onboarded him. It blew up because we onboarded the original OG founder of the first ever digital currency. So it raised 100 million. You had Larry Ellison taking it from stage. There's still some, things we're talking to with the community. It's on Solana. It pumped to 40 million. Now it's like 300K. Anyways, long story short, with that, um, for me, same thing, kind of like Curtis is saying, is like, back, or actually going back to 2021. So November 2021, same thing. Like I was like launch this project. It was called Kingdom Warriors, and we launched it, and it blew up. Like we actually raised 50,000 for it. It blew up. It reached 81 nations as a decentralized Christian community. We ended up buying land in Africa. We supported nonprofits. We did medical missions in Africa. We also built a franchise around this fantasy, because you know how there was cool IP like Pudgy Penguins and all the different cool IP. We knew that it was about intellectual property, which is downloads from heaven of good ideas turn into intellectual property that turn into brands. Ours was this whole Lord of the Rings meets Dune meets Chronicles of Narnia, and we actually through the favor on the project, it did $1 million launch, and it brought in all these 700 buyers, all this stuff. It ended up, we had the Bored Ape Yacht Club community. A lot of the biggest NFTs people, they were showing favor to us. They were like, this art, the vibe is good. They didn't care about, it wasn't, because at first we weren't overtly Christian, and we were just good vibes and good fantasy lore. Just like if you look at Lord of the Rings, if you watch Lord of the Rings, it doesn't talk about Jesus, doesn't say anything. It's just cool fantasy, spiritual warfare, ogres, orcs, elves. Anyways, long story short, we got Gimli from Lord of the Rings attached to our project. We're still working on a movie to finish with Gimli of Lord of the Rings. A part of that, we have a trading card game. But when everything crashed, we kept it going. The community, we actually brought it to Facebook because they were all like moms and stuff. There was a whole bunch of Christian moms and people that supported that launch. It wasn't as much DJing people. Curtis was one of the only like crypto people back then. He was one of the first like 50 buyers, but he was one of the only. So Curtis was one of the early supporters back in 21, 22, while I was trying to build this decentralized thing. And we had favor, we got thousands in our Discord, thousands in our Facebook group. We did $1 million launch, but $1 million, when you put it towards film and all this stuff, it doesn't last 3 years. So eventually we're like getting burnt out. Like, how do we carry this thing? How do we carry this vision? We bought this land, but now they're asking us, we need another 25,000 to build a facility on an entrepreneurship center on this land in Africa. And like, so we're just sitting on all this stuff. Like, God, like, what are we supposed to do now? We kind of pivoted to Web 2, that brand. It got turned into what's called Kingdom Warrior Studios. So that was essentially a launch pad to kind of build a media brand. And then now fast forward November of last year, before the Trump bump, I got a settlement for like 100 something thousand. I put half of it. I was like half of it Bitcoin, ETH, and meme coins. I felt like I was just supposed to put my resources into memes and kind of go back into crypto. Because like I said, I went into Web 2. We're trying to do film. We're working with Hollywood. Like we're making whatever. We're building brands and stuff in Web 2. I kind of like left Web 3. And then, yes, August, November, September, like whatever, the fall of last year, I get some resources and I'm like, crypto's the way. And I feel like I hear from God, like, go back in and go be a degen, support the communities. So I just supported all the best memes. Unicorn Fart Dust, Ron, he was just out at Bitcoin with some of our other guys. I supported all the best memes, the boomers, like all the best memes. I was just supporting them. I was buying 5,000 to 10,000 worth of it, getting in the community, posting bullish tweets of everything. And I really felt the vibe again of like this is it. And then Trump and Melania posted, and then boom, I was toast. My whole portfolio went down 90%. Melania, I'm like, I was at the inauguration. I was at some of the balls, and I was like, Trump, why did you do this to me, bro? Like, you just took all the liquidity. I'm like out here supporting you in DC, and then, anyways, I still listen to my wife. I actually, if I have a tweet where like it was like 10 minutes or 11 minutes after Trump posted on Solana, get Trump memes. I actually tweeted because I was like the kind of like a whale and OG of beans and like one of the biggest holders of beans. Anyways, I was posting promoting beans because I was like in that, in that mindset, like, one, I thought it could have been fake, but two, I was like, because at the time it was just a tweet of his. And then two, I was kind of freaking out because I was like, or I was like in that mindset where you're only supporting a couple coins. So like I only was supporting like my main coin. Anyways, long story short, I posted and it got super viral, like trying to promote like, hey, I'm sticking with beans instead of Trump coin. But if I would have just put in like I told my wife the next day, she's like, why didn't you put in some money? You had like whatever 100,000 like that. Anyways, long story short, I doubled my portfolio, and then after Trump and Melania, and like, anyways, there was a lot, so it went downhill from there. And then I get one of the investors in my company, he invested about a year ago in one of my companies. He was like, get with Curtis. Curtis is doing something cool with Christian and memes. And I get with Curtis and was like, bro, I've been like all in, like that's literally my day job. All I've been doing was memes and trading until everything crashed. And I doubled my portfolio. Then it went down 97%. And I'm like, bro, like I have all this experience. I'm in all this stuff. Like, I'm like, all I want to do is like memes and stuff. I'm like, I don't know why I'm in this space.
I basically got to steal Eric when he was at a low part of his life. That's really what it is. So he went all in. His bag went to 0. And then like 2 months ago, I was like, because Eric, I don't know if you're catching it, but Eric has done everything. He has contacts everywhere. He's had people that built Spider-Man work on his movies. This is the thing about Eric. He's so open-handed. He really is he represents Christ really well. Like his whole community, this Kingdom Warriors community he's talking about, the NFT one, there's like 4,000 members in Discord. He was like, let's just bring our entire community and bring it into Christ is King. So we have 4,000 strong, like old NFT holders coming right into the Christ is King community. He's open-handed, but he has reach and access into like Christian apps and Christian influencers and Christian leaders. And he's really served a lot of people. And I think we just got to pull him in to this project when he was like, just not at a good place. But it was good because he got experience with beans, being a CTO project. He got experience leading a group and like trying to, you know what I mean? And so I think he cut his teeth a little bit on that, but I'm really honored to have Eric. He's such a great man, a good family man. And he knows everybody.
It seems like things, I live by the motto, things happen for a reason, right? And so obviously, the path led you down to Christ is King. I think this was the reason. Whatever experiences in the past leads you to different opportunities. We might not be sitting here, if that stuff didn't happen. So, I mean, from the outside looking in, it seems like the team, and that's actually one of the things that is important from an outside perspective. Who's the people behind the team? Typically, there's a lot to unpack here, and that's why these are actually bullish things, why I like you guys. Number one, you guys aren't like 18-year-olds living in your mom's basement just deploying a meme on Solana. Like, you guys are actually experienced. You guys have connections to the Christian faith community. You have experience running projects. Curtis, you've been in the space almost as long as me. I think I got you beat, but pretty long there. And then, so that's super bullish. And also, when we're talking about Melania and Trump, the people behind it, and that's why Solana gets a bad name. The people behind it, the Hayden Davises of the world. He was a part of Libra. He was actually a part of, I think, Melania too. There's so many nefarious actors in crypto, and it's lost a lot of trust. But the one thing that I think you guys have going for you, especially, is because you guys are men of God, Christian faith, you guys do things the right way. I just know you do. I don't know you guys deep down, but I just know the fact that your faith is important. You're not going to be scamming people. You're not going to be, you live a life of integrity and honor, and you want to raise good children. And that's exemplary. I think this space needs more people like you. I think this space needs more trust. And so I honestly think the space is yours for the taking. Now, let me ask you, whoever wants to chime in, why base? Because, obviously Solana is super saturated, but the volume is there. Base, not really. Ethereum, ticking time bomb, who knows? What made you guys go to base?
For me, and I'll let Austin chime in here too, but for me, I think what you're alluding to is like we have a strong team. We are in this for the long term, and you'll see, Bill. We can't like go into the deep end and the digital ID stuff and all that. Like, even though it's a separate entity, we just want to be safe here. But one day you'll see how long term this thing really is and how big it is. But we didn't want, man. I know the liquidity is big over there, but it's hard enough in this world with mistrust, and it's slimy over there. I'll be honest, right? Like, it just is, and that's okay. Like, it is what it is. But the other thing is, I think Coinbase has a longer runway. I think they're just getting started. I think Base is just getting started. It has more credibility. Coinbase is a household name, and for us, we're trying to transition 2.6 billion Christians. Now, out of those 2.6 billion Christians, let's be honest, how many are actually technical? How many are degens? Not a lot. We need moms. We need grandmas. To make Base blow up, we need to bring a billion Christians over to this thing that aren't going to be able to interact with Phantom and Uniswap. Like, we need to get them into Coinbase. And so we were thinking of this as a long-term play, because I think Coinbase is gonna outpace them very soon. That was one thing. I know a lot of the people at Coinbase just from my days at Cello. I know other people on the team do as well. Brandon, our partner, Coinbase actually reached out to him in 2022 to launch. So we have those kind of relationships to potentially get on Coinbase. And here's the other thing, and I think you pointed this out on our last talk with you, Bill. There's only a few big players right now, Base, in my opinion. Like, you could tell the ones making the splashes, right? And they're all coming together and they're all participating, and it feels friendlier here. But there's actually a place as a pioneer in the religious meta to actually make a name on Base and it lasts. And so that's what we wanted. We didn't want to be lost in the mix. I don't know, Austin, if you had a different reason, maybe technical reason.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm completely on the same page there. I think just a few things to add is like Coinbase and the Coinbase wallet has just made ease of access to Web3 super easy, like the on-chain Web3, because like you can go right into the exchange, then you can transfer right to your Coinbase wallet, and then you can interact with the DEX from there. And for me, it's so much more frictionless and so much more trusted. And also, we love the idea of Base because it's the easiest thing for the US on-ramp as well. So there's it's those things. And like Curtis says, like, I honestly just feel like Base is a more mature crowd and Solana is like Curtis said, kind of slimy, a little like Babylon-esque and whatever you want to call it. And again, like, there's nothing, like, everything has its place, right? And I'm not knocking Solana, right, by any means. It's just what people have chosen to do on Solana.
I'm knocking Solana. I'm going to knock on them.
And the other thing is, I don't know, Bill, if you picked up on this last time, but Deep on our team, who's like our head of trading, he was the founder of Father Pepe. And so when I counseled with him, I really respected his project from last summer. And he was at onchain and blasted everywhere. When his father-in-law is my spiritual father, who is Pastor Crypto from Father Pepe. He's the pastor of a church in San Francisco, Clint. And so I counseled with them, and I really took heed of like their advice. And I just trust them, and they were like, Base is the way. I love their project. I started to look at the projects. I'm like, just that gut feeling, I'm like, Base is going to take this thing. They're going to take it. It may take 2 years, but they're going to take it.
I think, well, without a doubt, I think you guys made the right move. I mean, just look at my name of my channel, Late Night on Base. It's not Late Night on Solana. It's not even Late Night on Chain. But in all seriousness, Base allows projects time. So if you have a longer term vision, this is the place to be, right? You're on Solana, you're on other chains. It's like instant gratification, or else you're toast. That's not how things take time. And I wanted to show the chart because I think this is super bullish for you guys. For those again on Spotify, head over to YouTube or on Pods. This one will be on Pods because I really want more people to know what's going on with Crisis King. This is just a beautiful chart, and I'm a very TA kind of guy. That's like my bread and butter. And I just see this. This is when it happened on Solana, this I just see the community is staying put, excited. Like, this doesn't happen overnight. A lot of times on Solana, you have this pump and then just rugs because you don't know the team behind it. You don't know anything. So if you're a builder in the space, you want to come on Base for many reasons, as you said, too. I mean, the integration with Coinbase Wallet is a game changer. I tested beta. I mean, that's just a smoothest, seamless transaction. If you're going to target 2 billion plus users, Christian faith especially, majority of them, especially in the American market, are going to go to Coinbase. They're not going to, they don't forget about Solana, forget about Pulse Chain. They're going to understand Coinbase is a publicly traded company, S&P 500. And so by rolling out the Coinbase wallet, it's just all these users have the ability to come on. It's seamless. It's going to be a social interaction. That's kind of why I said to you guys on the live stream, if you guys don't have plans for it, you really need to emphasize creating a Farcaster account. That would be my just advice to you, because that's going to be integrated on Coinbase wallet. But anyways, it's a seamless transaction. And so like, to me, I just look at this and I just see beautiful structure. I feel like for my own bags, would I love for it to hit this blue line? Hell yeah, I would. I'll ape even more. But whatever. If it goes up, I hope it goes up. So I think you guys did the right thing. Now, before we kind of wrap it up though, I kind of want to know what the vibes are in your Telegram, or if you're on your Discord. Talk to us, because again, community is literally everything in crypto. What are the vibes like? What are the community members like of Christ is King?
The vibes have been good. It's been good. I would say Telegram, the thing we're still trying to figure out what Telegram is, there's a lot of like right now with the religious meta, because this has become like the base category king for faith. There's a lot of just weird like people just out for money that are just doing some rugs that are they're taking our whole brand and just putting on another character, another religious type thing. And they're literally just like copy and paste our brand. But then they're coming in like just kind of infiltrating, and like there's just some of that stuff you deal with Telegram. And then the spam, there's on Telegram, there's just a lot of spammers who just like try to put their calls in there, and there's a lot of just moderation we have. Thankfully we have a good mod team and we're recruiting actively other good mods. But I think Discord, we're actually getting ready to launch the Discord, the one that we already have thousands of former Christian Web3 people. We're getting ready to launch that. There'll be more, I think, for like actually meeting people, connecting people. That was one thing that happened cool out of this decentralized Christian community that we're integrating into Christ is King. Was we had a marriage come out of it of one of our customer service reps and one of our top whales. They got married from South Africa and they became a citizen. Like that happened. There was just a lot of like I look on Facebook and all of our community, their friend group is all from that NFT project. Like they'll all comment on each other's stuff. There's like 10 of them. So all the groups happen from that. So we're just thinking of like, as we did that, like, how do we do that well with this? And so it's been so busy since the launch that it's like, we're still kind of getting the community going. But recently Curtis and them were on with ClinkerCon and Agent 47 and some of these other. So we're also, we can't talk too much about some of the tech, but we're just building with some of the other people. And we're going to start doing weekly spaces. So you guys can look out for more weekly spaces, more just getting into the Telegram, Discord. But also, I really like voice. I like getting on X and speaking to each other, bringing people up, to ask questions, like what are the things they'll like to see. So I think it's formulating, but it's still kind of hard just because it's only, right now it's just mainly Telegram and then people adding us on X right now.
Well, I think it's a brilliant idea, especially on base. If you do these weekly spaces, when you guys start doing these spaces, invite me to your first one. I'll happily join. I would love to come on. I want to wrap it up though with you, Curtis, because it's always interesting to we're all entrepreneurs. Every single one of you on this stage is an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. Most people in crypto, entrepreneurs, because we're all here to make a better living for ourselves. We're not following the traditional path, especially if you're creating a Web3 project. But the life of an entrepreneur isn't always easy. As you guys know, there's ups, there's downs. Nothing's in a straight line. Curtis, my last question to you would be, what has been so far the hardest thing that you've experienced with Christ is King, building this project that you may not have envisioned, and how are you working through that?
You know what? As an entrepreneur, somebody like that, and just so you guys know, I've been an entrepreneur in the past. I've built companies, I've sold companies, but when I was an employee at tech startups or blockchain companies, my role in that was my role would be like head of people operations or culture. So I would hire people into companies. I would help the company scale. I'd retain employees and like build the brand for a company, right? And so I understood people. And when Crisis King started, it's probably like a lot of meme coins. It's like a fun idea, and then you get some energy, and then you get a crew, and you're like, all right, so I handpicked like the best people. I really did. We have some like studs on our team. But then you start to build this thing, and you're like, you get ready for launch day, and you're dealing with like, we know this thing's going to be real, so we're not trying to like dump this thing. So we have to think of like a future strategy, like how do we maintain this, how do we build a community? But you don't know what that looks like until you launch. Until you push that button for a meme coin, you don't know what's going to happen. And when we push that button and we hit like 10 million in like 15 minutes, I was like, oh, I know what's going to happen with this thing. There's something behind this. So instantly we had to think about the longevity of the project, the longevity of the treasury, and then individuals that are no longer volunteers. We have 12 full-time people now, 29 total, like with contractors and advisors. How do you now take that and turn this into a real company? How do you start to pay salaries, right? We can't just like dump tokens to people. So how do you start to pay salaries? How do you keep culture maintained when things are moving so fast? When there's a lot of outside pressure to raise the chart and do this and get on the next exchange, like you're marrying a lot of emotions. We are like, if you could see behind the scenes, guys, we are taking what was like seemed like a fun idea and turning it into something really solid. And that's a difficult transition. It's called change management in the corporate world. So to move us over into like a group of people that were on Telegram into Slack and Notion and Asana and project management tools, and then like we're really going after this thing. So that's been the hardest thing, is like we're not just a bunch of kids in our mom's basement. We're turning Crisis King into a real entity, a real structure, a real company with, you know, where we're hiring people, we're keeping people long term, so we could build this community and a vision for the future for the community. So that's been the hardest thing, but we're doing it. We're figuring it out. We're having big conversations. We're challenging each other. It's mostly men in the thing. So I'll speak it like that. Like we're all men that are very strong. We're not easily offendable. And so we have we're talking big conversations about a lot of money, and we just come to the table. We lay our egos down. We think first about Christ, second about the community, and third about ourselves. And that's gotten us through. So yeah.
I think that's a perfect answer. I don't even think anyone could beat that answer. I don't even think I should even ask another question, because that's like a mic drop moment. This is like when I go, that's like the perfect moment. So with that, guys, Austin, Eric, Curtis, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bill.
Thank you so much for having
Yeah,
us.
we appreciate you.
You can tell I was vibing with this podcast, because we even went over time. Most of my projects, like, all right, stop. We're gonna. I could literally talk to you guys for another hour, but then viewership drops, and we don't want that. But
it's all good.
I appreciate the Crisis King team for coming on. If you guys are on Spotify, head over to YouTube. We're gonna have all their information. We're gonna have their X account, website, Telegram. Obviously, you have Late Night on Base's account information as well for their X. Like and subscribe. It's free. Guys, really do check out Crisis King. I honestly envision you guys, and I'm not just saying this, I really think if you guys are trajectory this way, you make the right smart business decisions, you don't give out tokens unnecessarily, I think you guys are going to be massive. And I'm going to look back on this in 6 months from now, and if my thesis is right and you guys are massive, I'll be like, I had them right when they started. I had them at the beginning. Boom. My reputation increases. Let's go. All right,
let's go. We'll honor you. We'll honor you, Bill. Thanks so much.
I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Again, this has been the podcast Late Night on Base with Crisis King. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave some comments below. Cheers.